I run a company called SanchiConnect. We started as a subsidiary of a private equity fund. We do a bunch of things. We invest also. We have invested in 14 deep tech early stage startups. We have a product line. We talked about the SaaS product that we have. We work with some of the established incubation centers, and now we are trying to support ISBA also. My personal background is I've been an entrepreneur, was heading NASSCOM's startup program for 6 years, and we'll have more. So I'll pass it on to Priyank.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, ISBACON team, for having us here. My name is Priyank Garg. I'm managing partner. What sounds like a oxymoron, Indian Angel Network Fund. So actually, just to briefly mention, I've been an angel investor with IAN, Indian Angel Network, since 2009. Angel investor myself since 2007. But I'm now managing partner for IAN Alpha Fund. An Alpha Fund is basically a venture capital fund from the IAN group. So the angel network does investments typically from 1 to 5, 6 CR, and anything above 6 crores to 23 crores, it comes to the fund. So we are a proper venture capital fund investing in pre-series A, Series A companies. We are investing in a lot of sectors, but our interests are focusing on deep tech, climate, biotech, agri-tech, manufacturing 4.0, and fintech. Basically, sectors that we think are the future of the next decade of India. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Chandran Krishnan. I'm the MD and CEO of Campus Angels Network. We are focused on supporting deep tech startups which are incubated at university campuses, which have got early product, customers with early product validation and are looking for support for the go-to-market validation. We support up to 2 crores. I've got, this was promoted 1 year back. My own background, I studied at IIT Madras, went to IIM Calcutta. 35 years of corporate experience where I worked in HCL Tech and CK Birla Group and Hinduja Group and Rani Group and so on. Had a lot of global experience, worked in multiple verticals. I think which all is playing out because today I need all that experience. 5 years back, I came to the startup ecosystem where I headed Chennai Angels, as part of about 40-50 investments. And briefly, I headed SSN Incubation Foundation, which is the part of Shivanada Group. I'm on the board of IIM Calcutta Innovation Park. And 2 of my colleagues from Chennai Angels who are here today, Kritik and Vasant, the 3 of us started last year. We have funded 5, we have closed 5 deals and 7 deals which are getting closed. So that is, and we are partnered with about 40 incubators all over India. And we are looking for more partnerships with incubators to support deep tech startups. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. I'm Surya Rao. Happy to be here. So I'm the founder of a water tech company. So we make ultra-pure water units for healthcare applications, mainly kidney dialysis and also laboratory, your famous Milicu grade water systems. So I also come, before I started this company, I was heading a couple of incubators, including the one here in Hyderabad, the BITS Pilani Hyderabad incubator, and then one in Kuwait. So I hopefully bring perspectives from both sides. Also happy to see Harkesh sir here and Poine ma'am. So yeah, I'm happy to be part of this panel.
Hello everyone, I'm Kashyap. I'm the CEO co-founder at HitWicket. We are a Hyderabad-based gaming company behind the game HitWicket. HitWicket is we have 10 million users across 100 plus countries. We are venture capital backed by the likes of Prime Venture Partners and Horizons in Singapore and Chennai Angels. We're also backed by Harsha Bogle. In the course of the next 3 to 4 years, we want to be at a global level, one of the biggest success stories in consumer tech coming out of India. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So I'll start with the startups first, the ones who are representing startup here. I don't know if you have given that consideration, but we have somebody who's representing a fund which comes at a growth stage. We have somebody who's investing right immediately after the startups are graduating from the incubation center. We have somebody who's a startup and have run an incubation center, and we have a startup. So such a diverse pool of people. So Kashyap, my question is to you. Now, what happens is, and I want to focus on the autonomy, of driving your company. You're incubated at an incubation center, and then you get funded by a early stage investor. What happens to your autonomy? Do you think that at times we as founder, we struggle to take our own decisions? And if so, what do you think that how can these incubators and early stage investors also give you more authority and, little more flexibility around that, if you think so?
Got it. I would say that we need to look at everybody who joins us in our journey as our partners, and need to understand that everybody's goal is the same. The company needs to succeed, right? The only case when there's likely to be a misalignment is when, if the fund or whatever, they are not familiar with the domain, or they invested for the wrong reasons, or the company had different things in mind when they got funding and now they want to do something else, right? If those two are not checkbox, that's where even in the fundraising round, in the presentations and all, if you're very clear about what you want to do as a company for the next 3 to 4 years and having like constant feedback meetings with them, I think it kind of tends to go fairly smoothly, right? The way we see it is, as founders, we understand our business very well. We understand our product, we understand our users, we need to be the owners of that. But some of the other things like processes and hirings and compliances and things like that, these are not our DNA, right? We are not experts of that. And if the incubators in particular can help us on that front, you end up leaning on them a lot more. So I think there needs to be a bit of a demarcation on who is the owner of what aspect of it. And if that structure and decision making is very clear, then it becomes easier. We've been very fortunate to have really supportive investors who've been through us from ups and downs. And I can vouch for how much of value they've added to us. So we've had a really good experience on that front.
Great. So the takeaway is one area where the incubation centers can really focus on a lot is on the compliance side, the things which are accessory to the business of the founder, where he can skip by relying on a partner like an incubation center who can really make his or her life easy. Surya, I'm coming to you now. So you've ran an incubation center, now you are on the other side, you're running a company. Pre-seed to seed, and seed is where Chandran exists, right? Now, I'm taking you to your previous journey where pre-seed startups exist. I know, we all see that a lot of investors are invited by incubators, but what beyond that? What do you think can incubators do to make the founder's life even more easy? Because they are at that level where, one side you have the incubator holding you or, guiding you. The other side you have to keep on, slowly and steadily you have to lose your arm so that somebody else can hold that founder.
Yeah, thanks, Sunil. So I'd say, having been through this journey from being incubated and all that, the first thing the incubator could do is really set a tight filter on which ideas they validate. So basically, startup founders tend to be sometimes emotional people who can run with an idea. So if the incubator can tell them very frankly that this is not going to fly, you'll be ending a lot of pain in the future for many startups. I've seen a lot of companies build non-viable products and realize it 4 years later. So if the incubator could really set tight filters into the filter process, that would be great. But having said that, in incubators, we are under pressure to fill up the seats, the rooms and all that. So we should set a very tight balance about who we allow into the incubator. Mainly from an empathetic point of view, the founders should not be wasting any time in their lives. That's what we should be doing as incubators.
So which means the takeaway is you have to be the devil's advocate there. We are not there to make them happy. We are there to make them more realistic, right? Okay, Chandan, over to you. I have, every time we have met, I think this is the first time we are meeting at a place which is not a incubator. So always academics, you guys, in fact, I think your USP is you look at startups which are coming out of the incubators from the academics, correct? Now, how do you think the incubators can add to their journey, making them more and more qualified to fetch interest of people like you?
Yeah, I'll be a little long here. Okay, so one thing I want to say is I think it's a very important thing to understand, and many of the incubators may be familiar with what I'm going to say right now. See, there are 6 stages to an entrepreneur's journey, right? Starts with germination, which is the idea stage, just idea. There's nothing there at that time. Then they move into the idea validation phase. We call it pre-incubation. So where you need to check whether the idea has got enough legs, and only if the idea has got enough legs, you need to go to the next stage, right? Which I call it the product validation stage, where you build the minimum viable product and you test and see whether customers are willing to pay and buy the product. That I call it the hard incubation process. That is the incubation stage. The 4th stage is go-to-market validation, where you are looking for accelerating your journey into finding out customers, engagement model, pricing, revenue, etc., which I call it acceleration. And then you have growth stage and then scaling stage. So this is how I would classify the different stages. So incubation, of course, you go through their entire journey from pre-incubation to acceleration. You do all that. Let us look at from investors' perspective how we look at it. So where idea stage, nobody is going to fund, right? Idea validation also, nobody is going to fund. So the startup has to bootstrap, and then they have to go and look for idea validation, meeting about 100 prospects maybe to find out whether there is any opportunity there. When you go to the next stage, which is the product validation phase, today we have a lot of support. We have different government schemes, Startup India, Nidhi Prayas, MeitY, and so on, where for product validation there is support available, and you are also equipped, and most of the incubators are familiar with the funding which you can avail to help startups in that phase. And the next step, next stage, go-to-market validation is a stage where you will start seeing investors coming, right? There is where we come. So unless you have a very strong validation of the idea and the product, okay, investors are not going to be able to look at funding such a startup which have not gone through those phases. So that is, I want to say, we at Campus Angels Network, we come in at the product validation, at the go-to-market validation phase, and so there is where we are looking for startups to fund. Now, a couple of things I want to add here. See, what we look for is for the startup, the founders. They should, the vision should be clear. Their idea validation should have been done properly. They have, the right team. So, some of the things I think he also addressed, you need to look at which startups you want to onboard. So, team has to be strong. They should have strong domain expertise. They should have the capabilities to actually go the long haul. All these are familiar with what you're talking about. But we as investors, we give a hard look at these things. We look at whether they are unrealistic in terms of their expectations, their projections. So these are some of the things we really look at before we decide whether we want to fund. And I suppose I've covered what you wanted to ask.
No, absolutely. You've given a playbook to the people, I think.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Chandran. So, Priyank, now I want you to focus on the influence part of an investor over a founder's journey. What do you think in terms of influence an investor should have? Or incubator can also. On the business of that company in terms of business model or business canvas, when all those basic things are being done. I know you're at a little later journey, and at times I have seen that investors try to manipulate the business model at that stage also. But here I want to go one step back. What do you think, how much these people who are standing next to the founder should have their influence on the business modeling and all that?
So thanks, Sunil. I'll take a second to give my context, right? So, of course, when I was at IIT Delhi, there was no startups, no incubators. That was last millennium. Even at Stanford, the concept of incubators was not so widely prevalent in the US like it is in India. I think in the US is around 2,000 or so incubators and accelerators. India has crossed 10,000, as we just heard. The point to understand is that incubators and subsequent early stage investors, and I've done early stage investing as an angel investor right from 2007 onwards. And then the VCs, especially pre-series A VCs, we are at different stages of the company. Now, if you look at it, ultimately, we are investors, all of us. We are not owners of the business. And in my mind, they are basically selecting and standing with the founder and the promoter. Now, if we are any good at our work and if we are leveraging and learning from our experience, we should bring that onto the the experience of the founder. The founder may not have as wide an exposure just because he's in a particular sector, because maybe he's doing it the first time, and so that experience and learning we should bring to bear on the founder. But I don't think in any situation when we are taking 15, like incubators taking 2, 2.5, 3, 4, 5%, or even VC investors like looking at 20, 25%, we are upfront in the investment thesis, not expecting to take control of the company. Now, some things will be a black and white no-no, like compliance elements will be obviously non-negotiable, and those things have to be aligned on. And fundamental business premise, which is the basis on which the company was invested in, those things may remain under veto. But on a day-to-day strategic basis, I think a concept of a veto or a concept of a control is not appropriate for investors to have. Unless the founders and the promoters are bought in to what is being encouraged or what they are being persuaded by, it's not going to happen anyways. So if we really want to have control, we should be like a private equity investor, come and take 51% and take charge for the show. If our decision is the one that we believe in and we are going to force it, then we should take charge of the responsibility of the outcomes by being in charge. But if you're not in charge and the promoter or the founders are in charge and we are expecting them to do that, we have to ultimately make sure that we give enough persuasion, evidence, arguments to enable them to believe the direction that we would recommend. And of course, we will, when we are evaluating a proposition, try to understand how things can be done better. Even when we are on the board, we will be part of the board and the board process and contribute as a board member. But I think ultimately, who is in charge has to have that prerogative and what they think is the right thing to do with the influence from all around them. Ultimately, whatever they are thinking has also come from somewhere, either their own experience or from their own other advisors or maybe customer or on the ground, whatever it is. If they're not good at making decisions or if things don't go right, then we all suffer. But if things are forced on them, then anyways it's not going to be executed with alacrity and it's not going to be executed with effectiveness, and so we anyways are going to suffer. So that's my view. It's pure mathematics. If you're a minority holder, you have a minority position on the decision making.
I need a closing note from all of you now. Okay, maybe Kashyap, we can start with you.
As the panelists and all would have elaborated more, I think it's an ecosystem that is required. There are founders, there are the investors, there are the incubators. Each has an important role to play. If you look at the international market, the Silicon Valley, for example, all these things have coexisted. Everybody has brought something to the table, and the smart founders actually know what they can lean on for where, right? And particularly when you're starting a company, there are 100 different variables. Trying to solve all 100 as a founder makes no sense. The top 10 are the most important things for you. You need to lean on others, the support system for the other 90. And that's where being part of an incubator where you have access to a whole bunch of people who have been there, done that, people who can tell you what your problem will be 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, which is all information. It's again don't decide on the basis of that, but use that as a data point to make better quality decisions. I think if you think that way as founders, this is something that's worked really well for us and seen it work really well for some of the people I know. Thank you.
I have 2 points, Sunil. First one would be the market validation or the competitive intelligence that we do before an incubator selects a company for incubation, right? So it is usually beyond the capabilities of most incubators to get deep domain expertise, not happening. So maybe this question is for ISBA. If they could do a central triaging small team, which all incubators could access for deep down market intelligence and competitive intelligence, That might help more incubators make better decisions is one thing. Two, post-incubation. I believe nobody should be incubated more than 3 years as a hard and fast rule. So post-incubation, there's a lot of inefficiencies in the market. For example, GEM, Government Marketplace, it's a snake pit. So we still favor intermediaries or deal makers or mediators in the market compared to manufacturers. So manufacturer cannot compete with deal makers or intermediaries who have deep connections with the purchase agencies, right? So I'm tempted many times to file lawsuits, but then that makes a bad reputation for a founder, right? He's a troublemaker. So if ISBA could consider having a small legal team where these inefficiencies and lack of regulatory oversight is addressed, that would go a long way towards market post-incubation startups find their feet in the market. These are the 2 points I wanted to make.
Yeah, so the incubators, I just wanted to leave a few thoughts. One is, please focus on validation. The idea validation and product validation are very, very important. In product validation phase, helping the startup to get the right technologies to build product is very, very important. Giving them that access to a few early customers who can validate the product, have the right mentors so that you are able to do this process well. I mean, you are basically, we would like you to collaborate with the startups rather than control them. You need to be supportive and where you need to be really hard, I mean, is that where compliances, I think you need to be very, very strict with them. They cannot bypass. You need to ensure that they are compliant. They are up to date on all the various regulatory requirements, and when they try to take some decisions which are going to affect their financial health in the long term, I think there you need to be really really need to monitor and see that they don't do the wrong way. But the whole process, you need to be supportive, collaborative, allow them to shine, allow them to bring out their entrepreneurial qualities, and that is the message I would like to leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandran. You covered almost everything I was going to add, but I'll just say that as an investor, both at the angel stage and the fund stage, from IN Group, what we see is good incubators. They take care of the company's all three fundamental aspects, right? Ultimately, from an investor perspective, there is the team, there is the market, and then there is the product or the idea or the proposition, right? And good incubators enable all of them, supporting the product validation, enabling the product validation with infrastructure, enabling the market element of that, allowing market validation, customer access. But many of them, I feel, are not necessarily doing more what they could on the team side. I mean, it's not about, you cannot make people make teams, but helping the companies find the teams, making matchmaking sessions, making ways to find complementary team skills that are missing, helping the teams recognize which are the holes in their team so that they can look for those members, and then facilitating that. Obviously, the companies have to form the teams themselves. So good incubators do work on all three. The problem that typically engineers have, I'm an engineer by training, is we always have a solution before we know what the problem is. And so bringing that customer orientation into the evaluation of what is the idea, making sure that the solution, the value proposition, the product is tested against market forces, and recognizing that there may be the same need, maybe there in a different customer segment. Having that wide perspective, that is one of the most important things that new founders, especially tech founders, can benefit from an incubator's experience. And the one that is the underlying, which I feel I'm surprised, unfortunately, how many times we see companies that are not prepared better on this, is the compliance. I mean, this is the very objective or relatively well-definable checklist kind of thing, which every incubator, a good incubator, can make their companies be ready with. We see incubated companies come to us without even having a business plan. And on one side you can blame the founder. Don't you understand that you need to have a financial plan for an investor to come in? Ultimately, investment means financial planning. It's not like the product validation stage, but they're incubated, and even the incubator has not given them that guidance. So I think that's the advantage of good incubated companies: market access, product validation team, and then fundamental good compliance underneath. And that's why we love to work with incubators, and looking for all of you to reach out to us for both the angel network as well as the fund. Thanks.
Thank you, Priyank. From my side, I would say try to leverage your alumni base. For me, because I also come from an incubator background, running at NASCOM, I think any incubation center is as good as the kind of alumni, the people who are associated with it. So try to leverage that. I think these are the guys who are the best available resource that you have to nurture your current set of incubatees. Thank you so much.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.